Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cara Lennon. I am a full-time fitness instructor and content creator in Boston. Some of you guys might be following me for my day in lives or wedding content creator content, but what a lot of you guys might not know is I've spent the better part of the last 10 years, don't do that math, being a fitness instructor, teaching several different modalities. I like to joke that I've taught every different modality under the sun. I've taught at SoulCycle, I've taught at Barry's, I've taught megaformer, reformer-based Pilates, strength and conditioning, treadmill-based classes, strength classes. You name it, I've taught it. And I wanted to give some niche advice for some new fitness instructors from someone who's been teaching for over 11 years. As someone who's taught nearly every fitness modality, I have gained a lot of insight in the fitness industry and teaching and what's important over the last decade, and wanted to impart some wisdom onto anyone who is maybe new to their teaching career or wants to start teaching fitness part-time, because I know the fitness industry is booming and there are more instructors now than ever, but there are some things you need to keep in mind, especially if you're just getting into this industry. And I feel like I wanted to kind of make this video a little bit of a different vibe than just your typical like find cool music and connect with people, just type of stuff. So my credentials are that I've been doing this for a really long time. I have a lot of certifications. I can pop everything under here. And in terms of the training that I've gotten from several different studios, I really feel like I've gained a really 360 insight into what it means to be a good instructor. I've also trained instructors, and I've seen a lot of really good fitness classes and a lot of really bad fitness classes and everywhere in between. So with that being said, we'll start out with number one. My number one piece of advice for you is, in the long term, building community beats having talent every time. Elaborating on this just a tiny bit, it is really easy to play your music really loud and yell and woo and scream, but if the people in your class don't feel connected to both you as a person or what you guys are creating, the energy in there, there's going to be a disconnect in them feeling like they were valued and seen and heard. And part of group fitness is really just making people feel seen, and whether that's correcting their form or making a connection with them, actually building a community of people that come back to your class week in and week out. It could be your class of 4 people if you're a brand new instructor. I almost just said my next or like one of my next tips, but build community with those people, and those are going to be the people that stay with you over time, over different studios, over different modalities, because building community is what's really going to make you successful in this industry. And that doesn't always equate to being loudest, voice in the room or being a good instructor. My piece of advice number 2 is that confidence is not the same as competence. And I wish I could scream this from the rooftops, because as a fitness instructor, low key, you have to come off like you are super confident even on the days when you're having a really bad day. Like one time I broke up with somebody over the phone, hung up, and 12 minutes later taught an indoor cycling class. It was just not the vibes, but I walked in and I was like, what's up everyone? What's popping? Nothing happening on this Wednesday. Am I right? And it sucks sometimes, but of course, confidence is going to get you through classes that are really challenging and be able to command space in a room. But the best instructors truly work on both of these, and most instructors will only work on gaining their confidence and not competence. You need to understand why you're doing something. So why are you programming what you're programming? Why are you saying what you're saying? Why is this exercise working this part of the body and not that? And not just how to do it, not just how to mimic the moves, how to make a playlist, how to just throw stuff at people. Understanding the why behind either your programming or your playlist, and hopefully both, actually makes you be able to connect with people, and it makes your workout class, whatever you're teaching, it could be spin, indoor cycling, mat Pilates, whatever, it makes it make sense. Because there's a lot of times where I've taken a class where an instructor will just throw out a bunch of random shit, and I'm like, they've either never done this in their own body before, because if they were doing this right now with us, it wouldn't make sense, or they just saw a bunch of different moves and put them all together, and what they're doing doesn't really feel cohesive or make sense for the workout. A lot of times you can leave a workout feeling sweaty and like you just moved for 45 minutes to an hour instead of actually feeling like you got a workout. And the best instructors are confidently leading a room and explaining what to do and coaching people through it, but also really having competence in what their programming is, the why behind it, and not just regurgitating moves that they saw on Instagram. The third piece of advice is, honestly, I thought about putting this first, but I kept it third because it is quite important. I would definitely say it's top 3. Learning and remembering names is going to be one of the most important tasks you should do as a group fitness instructor. Like, this is the difference between somebody coming back to your class, somebody tagging you on social media, somebody recommending your class because they feel like you know who they are. And for lack of better words, if you don't remember names, like, it is very hard for me to like put names to faces. I say it 3 times over and over again. And then usually by the 3rd time I like have it. It really is a big deal to people. It makes people feel like they're not just another person that showed up to your class. If someone is repeatedly coming to your class and you don't have their name memorized, like, that's a you problem. That's not a them problem. They know who you are. They signed up for your class over and over again. You should know who your frequent flyers are, those people that are returning back to your class, because those are the people that already trust you. Maybe they like your vibe, maybe they like your music, maybe they like your programming, or all of it. And those are going to be the people, back to number 1, that you start to build your community upon. So learn people's names. Most front desks now will print out like an attendance sheet. I used to, when I taught at SoulCycle, I would take a sticky note and put it on my computer and write 5 different names, like every single time, like newer people or just people I haven't heard of, and what bike they were on, so I can make sure to call them out during class. But I would also bring my roster in. Now at the places that I teach, I have a printed roster, and then another one I have like a digital roster that I can log in on an app. And it's really helpful because in the moments where you're like, I need to make a connection with somebody, looking up and being like, oh yeah, that's Morgan. Go Morgan. Like, love those deadlifts, Morgan. It really does hype people up, and it's going to start to create community in your classes. There is one time that a girl had been coming to my class, this is a couple months ago, for like a couple times. And I don't know that like I had never really shouted her out. It's like a class of kind of a lot of regulars, and I said her name. Literally an hour later after class, she like followed me on Instagram, tagged me in her story, and she'd been coming to my class for a couple weeks, but I just had never said her name out loud. And that was the click for her to be like, oh, now she's invested in who I am, and I'm invested in who she is because she's been coming to my class. So it really does make a difference, and it's never too late to start. And you don't have to be perfect and remember every single person's name, but it really does make a difference to like memorize where people take class, what mats they like to book, what bikes they like to book, and it makes people feel special. What number are we on? 4. This is so important. Every single one, I would start with saying, this is so important. Pay attention to this one. Pay attention to all of them. Prioritize being a student often and never stop learning. Your class should not be the only class that you consistently take. And for a lot of instructors, that is the truth. That the instructor they take the most is themselves. I mean, for a lot of instructors that are in this full time, it's very hard to prioritize taking other people's classes. So you might be the number 1 person that you take class with just based on the sheer amount that you teach. But it is so important to once a week, twice a week, whatever frequency and cadence that you can manage, get in other people's classes. Like, take the classes at the studio that you work at. It's important to like immerse yourself in community, and it's important to keep learning from other instructors. Take instructors who you never get to take class with. Take new instructors, and you can learn something from them. The best coaches stay teachable. Even coaches you hear about that have been in the industry 10, 20, 30, 40 years are still interested in learning new stuff from all the new stuff that we see on social media, or whether it's a new certification that came out, or whether it's now Hyrox is on and popping. It's like that we can learn something from every modality that starts to become popular, or like other instructors. And it is really, really important that you prioritize this, because if you think about it, it's probably why you got into teaching in the first place, no? So why would you stop? Once you started, like, you're gonna start to lose your spark. Trust me, it's happened to me 7 million times. When you do this for long enough, you go through lulls where you're like, I can't take anyone else's class. And you're like, and then you go through a lull where you're like, I actually can't listen to myself talk. Like, I really feel like I'm gonna scream. And it really makes a difference to stay inspired by other people in your community, and also just connects you with the people around you. It's such a insular job where you're teaching by yourself, And there are so many other instructors out there who are experiencing the same thing. And whenever I'm at like a fitness event, we always joke that this is the only time we get to see one another because we're always teaching so much. But it is really important to be in community with people and understand the value of learning from other people besides yourself. Hilariously enough, this is a long form video and this is coming in the middle, but my next piece of advice is that you probably need to talk less, not more. And I realize that there are some modalities where you literally don't stop talking. When I taught reformer based classes like Megaformer, you think Solid Core, B-Tone, any of these, reformer based classes all around the country, I think Solid Core's training says you have to talk for 90% of the class. That is just a recipe for vocal notes, but that is a different video for a different day. I've been through all of the vocal issues you could ever imagine. I just think that it is a true skill. It is also a testament of doing this for a long time to be able to say what you need to say and communicate what you need to communicate in the least amount of words possible. So practice saying what you need to say with using the smallest amount of words. And this is hard because in the beginning, you're like, I need people to know that we're working their transverse abdominis and we're crunching and we're bringing our elbows in, we're tucking our pelvis and we're bringing and it's like, yes, 100%. That is all valuable information. But by some degree, you have to give people the benefit of the doubt and also know that not everybody is an auditory learner, like learns by hearing. Luckily, teaching more will teach you how to say less, observe more, correct faster, and communicate clearer. But this is something that's like trial by fire. So you have to learn and really go back and be like, okay, was I over talking them through that? Was I actually talking about what's going on in the room? Which I think is another thing, like a niche thing that bothers me when you hear a coach say something and I'm like, no one is doing that. Or like give a correction that no one is actually needing correction on. Like teach to the room and talk to the room. Don't just talk to talk. It really does make a difference. And people are going to tune out what you're saying if you're just like word salading every single moment over the mic. So I really do think it's important to be mindful and selective with your words. It's a skill that I have had to learn a lot over the last 10 years of teaching, but it is something that is so important, and silence is really powerful sometimes. And I know a lot of instructors don't want to hear that, but sometimes you just got to shut the fuck up and let them work out. Okay? Okay. The last two pieces of advice kind of come with a caveat because they're a little bit, I don't know. They're a little cliche, I guess. Some people will dislike you in your class. Some people, you could teach the most perfect class, make no mistakes, and have the best personality, and it's not going to be for some people. And that is an extremely hard pill to swallow, and I'm not going to tell you to just like get over it and move on because like it sucks. Like I always joke that being a fitness instructor is 50% standing up there and being like, do you like me? Like, is it going okay? Like, am I funny? Are you having a good time? So I get it. However, what you need to understand is that some people are not going to like you. Some people are not going to like your class. Some people aren't going to like your music. And that's okay. It doesn't mean it doesn't suck to receive sometimes. But the right people will love your class because of who you are and how you make them feel. And that is just true. And you could have mediocre programming, honestly, but if you brought good energy and made people feel seen, heard, and supported, people are going to return to your class. And that's why I feel like for a lot of instructors, it can be really soul crushing in the beginning, or at least what I've heard from new instructors is they get really paralyzed by like, I need to have the perfect programming, but it needs to be creative and it needs to be cool and fun. And I need to be funny and have the best music and blah, blah, blah. And you're kind of missing the intangibles, which is like transitions are really important. Transitions in between songs, transitions in between exercises, transitions in between classes. The intangible of your personality, kind of creating the energy in there and just knowing that you don't need to morph yourself into what people want you to be. You need to be yourself. I mean, to some degree, obviously you have to like follow a studio's rules, whether it's like formatting, music, playlisting, whatever. But really at the end of the day, what's going to sell people to come back to your class is you and how you make them feel seen, heard, and appreciated. So that all comes back to like learning their names, creating community, being a good coach, which leads me into my very last point, which is, and I want to start off with a little bit of like a hot take here. Okay. So Don't come for me. Some people are just really good performers and not good coaches. And I know that sounds kind of mean, but in this industry, you need to be both. Like, the best coaches in the world are incredible top-notch performers, and they're also incredible top-notch coaches. And you should focus on being a good performer and an excellent coach, because over time, you're going to become an excellent performer and an even better exceptional coach, if that makes sense. Performance helps create energy, right? So like your performance, your energy, you're creating the energy in the room. Coaching helps create results. And really, at the end of the day, people want to leave a workout class feeling like they got what they signed up for, which is whether like emotional, physical, spiritual, whatever, release. There's different categories of what you would say results are depending on your modality, right? Like, I leave a spin class and I'm not like, I don't care about how many calories I burned. I'm like, how do I feel? Like, that's what I want when I leave an indoor cycling class. When I leave a strength-based class, there's something a little bit different, right? Like, when I leave a high rocks class, I want something a little bit different. So how are you making people feel? Do they feel like they're getting what they need out of your class, which is like results? And also, are you creating good energy in the room and being able to facilitate that? I think there are a lot of excellent, amazing performers out there who are really terrible coaches. And I also think vice versa. There are some incredibly talented and smart and educated coaches who just do not have the on-mic charisma. And you need to have a little bit of both. But the good news is that both are things that you can work on and improve by regularly taking certifications, regularly doing continuing education, regularly popping into people's classes and just teaching. And it's kind of like the 10,000 hours rule of being an expert. I've definitely taught well over 10,000 hours of classes, but it really does only get easier as you do it. And that's like the both amazing and kind of terrible part of being new at something, because you're like, I know that I'm probably as bad at this as I'm ever going to be. But the good news is that it only can get better. So don't expect to be perfect. Don't compare yourself to somebody who's been doing this for a really long time. The only thing you can do is show up, be yourself, have consistent, clear, and well thought out original programming and playlists. And that's it. Like, just vibes. You know what I mean? Like, so much of this industry is based on vibes, and creating good vibes for people is like 75% of the work. You know, it's hard, but really at the end of the day, we need good performers, good coaches, and like good vibes in the industry. And there's plenty to go around. If you liked this style of video, I'm not sure if this was interesting to anybody, but if you're newer to teaching fitness, or you want advice on like how to playlist or how to create programs, I love coaching, clients and people. I'm also really passionate about making instructors feel really supported, because I think a lot of studios don't necessarily have the bandwidth or the manpower to support their instructors in the way that they should be supported. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like a very individual job, even though you're working at a studio with like a lot of clients and maybe a lot of people. So I wanted to kind of start a series where I can hopefully impart some wisdom and advice from just doing this for as long as I have. And if you found this helpful, I would love a share with a friend, or like a new instructor, or maybe like somebody that you know that's auditioning somewhere, and comment down below if you have any other topics that you'd like me to make a video on. I'm super passionate about this, and that's all. Good luck. You got this. People don't hate you. I promise. You're crushing it.